purpose of this video will be to demonstrate in-depth training and information on buying and grading of the following furs: beaver, sable, fox, muskrat, mink, and otter. To explain the priming sequence of these specially selected fur-bearing animals, degrees of damage, and various fur grading terminology used are Phil Patterson, Director of Fur Marketing with the Northwest Company, and Dave Buick, Manager of North American Fur Auctions, Winnipeg location.
Hi, today I'll be working with beaver, sable, and fox. We'll be starting with the beaver. Starting with the priming of furs from fall to full winter prime to the spring outgoing off prime, also showing you the varying degrees of damage from slight to regular to bad damage, also the pelt handling, all which affect the value of a parcel of fur, which the trapper will be presenting to you for sale. In the fall of the year when the trapping season opens, no furs are fully primed yet, and we see this in the indication of the blueness of the leather. Here we have examples on the beaver, which we refer to blue leather. As fall progresses into early winter, this blueness starts to fade and the pelts become clearer. They'll start to whiten on the sides. The center of the back of the beaver is the last section to prime. You still see some bluing in the middle here. As we get into, probably into late November and that, the leather is almost clear. In the final stages of priming to full winter, we just have a few little freckles or spotting, and the leather is clear. In the final stages of priming, we still have a few spots or freckles on the leather as indicated. And here we have a fully primed pelt, completely clear and whitened right up. And we'll now show you the difference between an early fall beaver to a full winter beaver on the fur priming side. Here we have the early fall beaver with the weak fur, very little under fur, spiky guard hairs, as compared to a full winter prime, which we have here, the heavy fur, a lot of resistance as you try to push your hand through it, a nice flow, full guard hair coverage. And this is a full prime #1 beaver. And from this stage on, the beaver will slowly start to go off prime and into the spring rubs and shedders. And from the full winter prime stage, the beaver slowly move into the spring stage. Here we see evidence of this, the dryness of the leather, and also the freckles start to appear back on the leather side. As the beaver start to go off prime, the freckles start to appear again, and we experience a very dry leather. On the fur side, the fur starts to dry, become brittle to the touch. At the butt, becomes very dry, red rimmed, and often we'll experience rub and the shedding of the beaver. And this, you can see, of just passing your hands through the fur, we can grab a handful of fur very easily. Now I'll be showing you the varying degrees of damage, starting with a slight damage, going to a regular damage, to the bad damage, starting with the slight. Here we have what we call referring to a slight damage, a skinning cut, can be the cause of this, or a small shot, as in a shotgun. We go to a regular damage. These are bite marks from another animal, some of them very large. also heavy scarring, all affects the value of the price of fur. Here we see some very heavy damaging here, an old wound, and also where it is broken through on the dried tissue of the beaver. We go into the bad rub stage. All the guard hairs are missing on the flanks of this beaver. And then we go into what we call a tainted beaver, and that is where we can brush the fur out just like so. This is the extreme bad damaged skin, almost of no value. I'll now show you the proper way in which beaver should be measured. We always measure from the base or the butt of the beaver to the head and across, and this gives us our total square inches. Your sizes of the beaver are always in your tariff. Measuring is an extremely important part of valuation. If your sizes are wrong, for sure your values will be wrong. Beaver, the desired stretch is an oval stretch, where you can measure from the extreme butt to the nose, to the sides, giving you, again, the square inch. Beaver that are badly stretched or poorly handled, with scalloped edges and that, we have to discount a certain amount. Depending on the degree of pulled butts or noses, we have to allow discounts in the measuring. In a beaver such as this, we'd more than likely place the tape inch to an inch and a half and cut off the measuring an inch and a half short of the nose. Here we have a beaver. We can pretty much measure the full measurement, cutting off the nose just a bit because of the pulled snout on this beaver. And with a beaver with a stretch like this, with a slightly pulled snout, you would discount off this pull here. When you're preparing beaver for shipment, they should always be packed in the following manner. They should be always shipped flat, leather to leather, fur to fur, in this manner. This keeps the oils and grease from getting on the fur. Also, it protects them from the transport. If the bag is dragged by the truck or whatever, by the trailer drivers, only the leather is going to get damaged, not the fur. With the leather on the outside, protecting the fur at all times. That completes the beaver, and we'll now commence with the sable. With the priming of sable, we again start with a flat early skin, and this is very normal. We have flat, and as we start to prime, we slowly put on more fur, become a little more dense, until you get into the winter skins. Here we have an early unprimed sable compared to a full winter. So as you can see, of early fall sable is of very little value compared to the full winter skin. We go again from the full winter, which they stay for a few weeks, and then they start to go off prime, getting a little feathery on the sides. So you go from the full winter prime pelts slowly into a spring, which start to show an evidence of weak flanks and getting feathery, as we refer to it, such as in this skin here. And now we'll go into the varying degrees of damages, from slight to regular to bad to the taints. Here we have the slight damages on the sable. You can see the break in the fur flow. Here we have something a little more damaged. with fur falling out or being pulled out here. In some cases, this is caused by pitch or tar from the spruce trees, spruce gum, spruce matting. Here's a good example of the spruce matting on this skin here. Do not try to remove this, as you will pull fur out. Let the dressing plant worry about cleaning that up. We have mouse-eaten or flying squirrel. This constitutes heavy damage, bad damage. This is the same as a very large hole in the pelt. And then again, we're back to bad skins or rotted skins. We refer to as tainted. They just continue to shed away their fur. This type of skin is of very little value. That completes the sable, except the sizing, which we will show you now. With the sizing of sable, they're measured from the base of the tail or the butt of the animal to the nose. Unless the nose has been very pulled and pointed, then we would stop the measurement about at the eye holes. Generally speaking, we measure from the base of the tail, like so. Your sizes, again, are in the tariff. Sizing, again, is very, very important. If your sizing is not correct, you can never value the parcel in a correct manner. That's the completion of sable. Other than the packing, sable should be always packed only with other fur-out species. With the baling of sable, you may mix them with other fur-out animals, but do not mix them with mink, otter, species of that nature. They may be mixed with other soft furs, such as fisher and colored fox. And that completes our sable, and now we'll go into the foxes. Here we'll be showing you the priming stages of red fox, cross fox, and the wild silver fox. These animals are no different than the beaver. They start off very flat, blue leathered, as we saw in the beaver. From the flat stage to early prime, to a semi-weight, to a full winter weight. All foxes go through the same priming, so we can use the cross with the red or the silvers, all for examples at the same time. As we advance into spring, the foxes tend to start to go feathery on the sides, losing their guard hair coverage, also opening up on the shoulders. We can now look down inside and see the under fur and going slightly woolly. As more advanced spring comes along, we have more weakening of the guard hair. It sheds naturally. Also, we have rub rumps. The rumps are completely rubbed off of guard hair. From the rub butts, spring, to almost a full summer skin, very badly rubbed, hardly any guard hair left on this animal. In the valuing of foxes, we again have to pay attention to slight damages, regular damage to bad damage. Because of it is a long-haired fur species, one should always fluff up the skins, looking for a break in the flow. Here we have a break up on the high shoulders, and here we have some missing fur causing us to think slight damage in value. Here we have the rub butts. This, of course, has to be valued as damages. The skin here, we have a number of things wrong. We have snare damage, holes. We have a stale condition, the yellowing, the oxidization of the skin. The skin is at least 1 year old. they get to be too old, they tear and rot very easily, as can be seen in this manner. We also have a sew job here where the trapper damaged the skin and sewed it up to camouflage it on the fur side. All these things should be watched for when buying a long-haired species. And again, we come to the tainted skin, as we did with the beaver and the sable. Here we have a skin that was not dressed out correctly, and we have fur falling out of it, creating a very, very large damage, as we can now see as I part the fur. It just continues to grow, the damage on this skin. And then we have what we'd refer to as a roadkill. This is almost of no value. The tail has been broken off, it's badly rubbed, damaged. These are all varying degrees of damage to watch for when valuing a parcel of fur. And that completes the fox, except the Arctic fox that we will take a look at now. With Arctic fox, they go through the same priming stages as other foxes, with flat, early skins. Here we have one slightly past that real flat stage, but we still have the bluish underfur. And this can be seen when you can compare it to a full winter prime, white or clear #1 fox. And also in the fall of the year, just before coming into final prime, we have the black tip stage. This can be seen as so. And from the black tip stage, we go and advance into the full prime, clear, or #1 stage, as we have here. When you look at a full prime Arctic fox, they're very full, right from the front shoulders to the hindquarters. The bellies are also very full, and the throats. From this stage, they start to go off in color, going from a slight staining to staining, various degrees of yellowing, as seen here. To a woolly stage, weak on the flanks, rub, no different than the cross fox, red fox, silver fox. They all go through the same agonies as spring comes along. Here we have the very weak and woolly stage. They also go into a stage of woolly rumps, blue knotted underfur. And of course now we have going completely off prime, we're going back into a dirty white. The guard hairs are being lost. Skin is coming back into being woolly. Again, we have to worry about damages in this animal. Tainting is very commonplace with the Arctic fox. Again, as we showed you earlier, when you take a look at a skin and you see some loose fur, take a look at it. We may have more problems than you realize. Often, a tainted Arctic fox fetches about $5 on the market. Here we have an Arctic fox. Because it's so heavily furred, it's hard to find the taint. There we go. Here's our problem here. If I can get this parted. This is the start. And you can just see this coming away, exposing more and more leather, as if this is a bad damaged skin. Stale is a very bad stage for them. 1 year, and they almost literally fall apart. Watch for this in the Arctic fox, as they tend to stale very quickly. Once they stale, they tend to fall apart very easily, as demonstrated. Now, with measuring of foxes, all foxes are measured in the same manner, measured from the base of the tail to the nose, in this manner. Your sizes again are in the tariff. And baling of foxes, again, you may mix any of your fox, the red, the cross, any of your soft furs. You may mix them with coyotes, timber wolf, sable. Do not mix them with leather-out species such as beaver, otter, mink. And that completes the fox. Now here's Dave to carry on with muskrat, mink, and otter.
Muskrats are sectioned into two major regions, easterns and westerns. The eastern muskrat is a larger muskrat, usually stretched on wire. The western muskrat is a smaller muskrat and stretched on wood. Muskrats, as with all other wild fur varieties, go through the same priming process. In the fall, the leather is blue and dry. Moving to an early winter, the leather is starting to clear up to a full prime spring pelt where the leather is very clear. To slightly off prime, the leather is dry and veiny. To a very late spring, you can see the leather's very dry and we have these oyster marks on the leather, or shedder marks. There are three basic weights in a muskrat. There's a very papery muskrat, which is very weak, a lightweight, and a heavyweight, very firm muskrat. There are various levels of imperfections in the muskrat, starting with the slight damage, which will be a very slight imperfection on the leather, going to a regular damaged, where there are more imperfections. Here you can see shotgun in the rump area. To damage that's on the belly. Make sure you check the belly when you're looking at muskrats. You can see here there's quite a few holes in the belly of this muskrat. And then we go to badly damaged. And you can see on this muskrat is tainted. You can see that window right there. If you pull out hair, this will go into the badly damaged. Also included in this category of badly damaged are very badly ripped skins, skins with many holes, and burnt skins. The sizes in the muskrats range from extra large down to extra small. The measurement is taken from the nose across the butt. The muskrat sizes are listed in your tariff. Depending on quantity, muskrats can either be packed on their own or with other leather-out varieties such as wild mink, otter, and beaver. When grading wild mink, we separate the boys from the girls. The boys are readily identified by the penis mark here in the lower part of the mink, as opposed to the female. Each category is measured into two sizes. The males are measured into extra large and large, large medium. They're measured from the nose to the base of the tail, as are the females. The sizes are listed in your tariff. Again, as with all other wild fur varieties, the priming process in the mink is the same, starting with a very early pelt, which is very blue, going to something that is slightly blue, to the freckling stage, which is slightly early, to the clear leathered stage, which is fully primed, going to the off prime, where the leather is dry, red, and veiny. This mink is called a saddle mink. This is known as a northern parchment mink. As you saw with the early beaver pelt, the blue leathered pelt was very weak, very loose, and very spiky. The prime pelt is very plush and very densely furred. Imperfections in the wild mink are as follows. Slight damaged, there's a slight imperfection. To something that is damaged, this mink is very poorly handled, a lot of fat left on it, and it is also over-scraped. To something that is badly damaged, you can see a major piece of mink missing here. To something that may be tainted. This mink is poorly handled. A lot of fat has been left on both the back and the belly and would be graded as damaged. Otter are measured in the following manner. From the base of the tail to the nose. The sizes of the otter are listed in your tariff. Once again, the priming process in the otter is the same as all other wild fur varieties, starting with the early skins, which are blue, to something coming into prime, which has a few small freckles, to a fully primed skin, which is clear leathered, coming into a slightly late skin, which will be a little drier and redder in color, to a very late skin, which is red in color, and also the fur is singed. By singed, we mean the guard hair has a hooked appearance and a very shiny gloss to it. This is also evident in the wild mink. The early otter is very loose, very little guard hair, and spiky in appearance, as opposed to a fully primed skin, which is well-furred, straight-haired. Once again, there are certain classifications of imperfections, starting with a slight damage. This otter has a single bullet hole, would be considered as a slight. We move on to a damaged skin. You can see where this has been damaged and repaired. And you can also see where this trapper has overscraped this otter. This will result in a weak spot in the leather and will eventually tear. This otter, you can see where the otter has been repaired. A few shots in the neck area. This would also be considered damaged. We move on to this otter, which has been shot in the body and also in the head area. This would be considered badly damaged. Moving on to this otter, you can see this is heavy scarring in this area and also in this area. These will be bald spots when dressed and considered badly damaged. Otter in some areas are also presented fur out. When buying fur out otter, one should be more aware of hidden defects. You can see here, there's a hole. And also, you'll notice some fur damage here, a clip. Also, when shipping your otter or storing your otter, make sure that the tails are tucked in.
In shipping your furs, you should be using the fur bags that are supplied to you or use cardboard cartons. Never ship furs in plastic. And using the bags, we'd like to see you paint your store number on them, whether it's 290, 160, whatever your store number is. The shipment number is taken off the right-hand top corner of your first shipment invoice, and whether it's bale 1 or 5, whatever you're shipping, the number of pieces, 1 of 4 pieces, 4 of 4 pieces. The Ontario stores have instructions to ship to our North Bay Fur Marketing Office. The Saskatchewan stores ship to our Prince Albert office, and the Western units ship to the Edmonton office. Other units are advised what the shipping addresses are. Using the fur bags, they're also pre-addressed to North American Fur Auctions. Again, always paint your store number, the shipment number, the number of pieces. North American has pre-addressed all their bags. However, you must fill in whether it's coming to the Winnipeg office, from 589 Henry Avenue, and Rexdale, 65 Skyway Avenue, or, of course, the Northwest Company branches, which you've been advised of earlier. These bags are specially designed to carry fur as they breathe and allow the fur not to overheat. With each fur shipment, you should always include a fur shipment invoice. One should go in the bag, a copy should be mailed to head office, and a copy sent direct to the auction house. There is a correct procedure to follow in filling these out. You should always include your store number, your store town name, and your district. Fill in your quantities of species being shipped as in this case, 14 beaver, 3 fisher, 3 red fox, 1 lynx, 10 muskrat, 50 sable. Carrying your numbers across with your costs. Costs should only appear on head office copies, not on the auction house copies. If you're making a 5-bag shipment, I would advise you to make 5 photocopies and place an invoice in each bag, as sometimes the auction houses only receive 2 or 3 pieces and they have no idea what is missing from the shipment. Thank you. Packing, we allow the fur to breathe. You address them to North American Fur as the bags have been pre-printed, whether it's Winnipeg or Rexdale. These are the bags for fur shipping at all times. Do not use plastic at any time, as the fur tends to overheat and taints very quickly.
We will start with the beaver, as it is the staple of the wild fur industry. To begin with, we will start with sizing. Sizing of a beaver is done as follows. On a regular shaped beaver, it is measured from the tip of the tail to the eyes and across the shoulders. The sum of those two measurements is the size. Your sizes will be on your tariff sheets. For an irregular shaped beaver, such as this one, you can see that it's not as full at the end of the beaver. You will take the measurement from about there to the nose and again across the shoulders. And another irregular shaped beaver here, you can see that it is scalloped on the sides. The measurement will be taken from the lowest point on the rump, again to just below the eyes, and across the shoulders at the narrowest point. Thanks, Phil. Now we'll look at the priming stages of the beaver. To start with, you will see a blue pelted beaver. This is an early beaver. If you look at the fur side, you'll notice it is very flat and very shallow. The next stage of the beaver will be an early winter. You'll see that the leather is starting to prime. It's starting to turn a golden color. It's still a little blue in the center of the back. You'll notice that the quality of the beaver is somewhat heavier, that the fur side is still fairly flat. Next, we will have a good winter beaver. You'll notice that the leather is almost fully primed. There's still a little bluish tinge there, but the beaver is very full and very good quality. A spring beaver is completely yellow, leathered, and the fur is fully developed and very plush. As the beaver go off prime, you'll notice that the leather starts to turn a little orangish in color. You'll notice that the leather is veiny in appearance, is orangish in color, and has a dry feel to it. The fur side also has a dry look to it and is very loose, and the hair is starting to shed. You'll also notice that the edge or the rim of the beaver is reddish in color, and also the rump is very dry. Now we will look at imperfections. These range from slight damage, which can be a small hole, to a scar, which is this dark area here on the leather, to something with a little more damage, which was regular damage. This skin is badly damaged. It is poorly handled and burnt. This skin is tainted. As you can see, the hair is starting to pull out of the fur side. Finishing off with beaver, we have example of prime leather and prime fur. A byproduct of beaver is castoreum. They are sold by the pound and graded into 3 categories: number 1s, number 2s, and number 3s, or shells. Otter are measured as follows: from the tip of the nose to the base of the tail for length, and across the rump for width. When shipping and storing the otters, please make sure that the tail is tucked in. The imperfections of the otter are as follows: a slight damage, which can be a couple of small holes to a pelt that could be ripped, to something with some heavy, dark marks in the neck area, to a pelt that has very many imperfections on the leather. This pelt would be considered damaged, to something that is heavily damaged, which would be considered badly damaged. One of the traits of a spring otter is singed. The guard hair has a hooked, shiny appearance. Now here's Phil to explain the grading techniques of sable, also referred to as marten.
Sable are measured in this manner, from the butt to the tip of the nose. The measurements are given to you in your tariff. The sable goes through the same priming stages as the beaver, the otter, etc. Here we have the lower early flat skins from the fall. As they prime up, they tend to get a little heavier, and fully primed, they're very heavy through the body and through the shoulders. When looking at sable, one should always check the back and the belly, looking for defects in the flow of the fur. Sable come in many color phases. We have them from the pales, light browns, to the darker browns, to the dark browns. Sable on occasionally are stretched leather out or pelt out. These are graded from the butt in this manner, and again checking the leather for primeness. When the leather is clear, the pelt should be prime. Here we have varying degrees of damages. This is checked by fluffing up the fur on each pelt. You see the imperfections, check them out. Here we have a tainted skin, spruce gum matting on this one, damages on the flanks of this one. Again, more spruce gum, heavy matting. Watch for mouse damage. Check the bellies always on this animal.
Wild mink are broken into two categories, males and females. Males are identified by the penis mark on the belly side. Mink prime in the same manner as any other species. The blue leathered skins are early, coming into prime with a few black spots on the leather, to a prime leathered skin which is clear, to a dry leathered veiny appearance. This is a spring mink. The mink are divided into two basic sections. A parchment leathered mink, which is clean scraped, light leathered, and something called a saddle mink, or a North Central. Now let's focus on the imperfections in mink. From slight damage, which would be very slight imperfections on the leather, to something that is more heavily damaged, to something that is badly damaged, such as this taint, and something that we call a roadkill or a low grade. Priming cycle in muskrats is as follows. Blue dry leathered, an early pelt, an early winter pelt which is coming into prime, a prime pelt which is clear, and an off-prime pelt which is orange and veiny in appearance. Sizes in muskrats range from extra large to small. Imperfections in muskrats range from slight damage to damaged to badly damaged.
Fisher are measured in the following manner. From the butt to the nose. The measurements are given to you in the fur tariff. The female fisher, being the smaller fisher, is a silky, more pliable animal, as generally brings the higher prices in the fur market. Fisher prime in the same manner of all other species. Here we have a summer kill, which is of no value, very flat, very early. In fact, to the novice, could be perhaps mistaken as a pretty good-sized marten. The fisher, as they come into prime, they're a little, start to fill out through the neck, through the shoulders, coming into the more heavier skins, the winter, the full prime. The dark colors are the pales. They move into the spring, tend to get a little boardy through the neck, a little rusty, off color again. And we have our bucks, our males. These are, as you can see, like a 2x4 as compared to the soft and supple females. These are of very little commercial value. Fisher are sometimes presented for sale pelt out. Again, we check the pelt for primeness and degrees of damage. The varying degrees of damage with the Fisher range from snare damages, which you can see here in the neck, to shots, which can vary anywhere throughout the body of the animal, to tainted skins, similar to what you saw in the mink, the beaver, etc., to spruce matting. These all constitute varying degrees of damage with these pelts. The correct way to measure red fox is as follows. You measure from the butt of the tail to the nose. The correct measurements are in your fur tariff. Fox prime in the following manner. In the fall, they're reds, flat skins. Their leather is the same as all the other species, blue or black. As they start to prime up, they start to fill in the fur, fill in the bodies, the shoulders. They tend to start to fill it right out, become a little semi-weights to heavyweights. When checking fox, always hold the fox by the butt of the tail before flipping the fur, checking for imperfections. Check the bellies also. Fox, from fully prime, start to go into the spring mode of getting weak on the flanks and open. And finally, very open and rubbed on the butts, weak in the shoulders. Completely off prime. Damage to red fox. Degrees of damage, again, we go from slight damage to bad damages. When foxes was blown apart like this, we refer to as road kills, bad damage, very little value. Over half that fox is missing. Here we have heavy damage through the neck. This is probably done through being shot and poor skinning techniques. Here we have snare damages, in this case across the rump. This can appear anywhere on the foxes, often through the front shoulders also. And here we have our spring rubs, heavy rubs on the rump, coming right up through the flanks, through the front shoulders. This is a common occurrence at springtime, but constitutes a damaged skin. Foxes have a great variance in color, as you can see, from pales to reds to dark reds.
Cross foxes are graded and measured in the same fashion as red foxes. The key characteristic of a cross fox is the distinctness of the cross on the back. The darker the cross, the more money the pelt is worth. Once again, wild silver foxes are graded in the same fashion as red fox and cross fox. The key factor in a wild silver fox is the amount of silver tipping in the guard hair. Sizing coyotes is done in the following fashion. It's measured from the butt of the tail to the tip of the nose. The priming of the coyote is the same as any other species. The very early skins are very flat. Incoming prime is a semi-heavy coyote to a full prime heavy skin. Going off prime, they begin to get weak in the neck and shoulder area and in the rump, to a fully off prime skin, which is very weak and very open. Coyotes range in color from a clear pale to a rusty red, the pale colors being of higher market value. As with red foxes, damage in coyotes range from slight damage, which includes shots and sows, to damaged to badly damaged.
Lynx, they are measured in the following manner. From the butt of the tail, again to the nose. The measurements are given to you in your fur tariff. The clarity of the lynx commands the price paid. Here we have clear skins. Bellies are very important. And we move into slight off to bad off. Varying degrees of damage in the lynx controls the price factor. Here we have a bad damaged lynx with a heavy taint on its belly. We also have here a spring lynx with a very boardy neck. This affects the price structure. The lynx themselves go through the same priming phase as all other skins. We start with early fall flat skins, coming into semi-heavies to full winter heavy skins. With the measurements of timber wolves, they're measured from the butt again to the tip of the nose in this manner. Again, your measurements will be in your fur tariff. Timber wolves go through the same priming stage as all other species. They start off in the fall in early flat skins. As they tend to prime, they start to get a little heavier through the shoulders until they become fully prime in this manner. Heavy shoulders, heavy body, very nice skins. And they move into slight off to spring rubs, to a bad spring rub, very open, very similar to, in your foxes, any other long-haired animal. They rub on the butt, the same as the red fox, cross fox. In the case of the Arctic timber wolf, prices vary greatly. However, skins that are suitable for full head mounts or rugs fetch the highest dollar. What we look for is the pouched ears, that is, the ears have been hollowed out, the gristle has been removed and dried. No damage to the face, the snout, eyes are in good shape. We also like to see the lower lips intact. Also, the hunter must flesh out the pads and claws, leaving them intact. This is when our taxidermist people want full head mounts. They pay premium dollars when the pads are left on the skins. In the case of the tail, the bone should be removed, care taken not to damage the tail or break it. Wolverine, they are measured in the same manner as timber wolves, that is, from the butt to the nose. When we purchase Wolverine, we look for distinct markings, whether they are complete with claws, of course, whether they're fully prime or not. The heavy skins fetch the top dollar. These animals prime in the same manner as all others, that is, in the fall they are flat and early skins, moving into semi-weights to heavyweights. Here we have markings in the white to dark. On this skin here, it's dark to browns to heavy darks.
Badgers are graded into 3 categories: heavy, semi-heavy, and flat. The preferred method of handling is flat as opposed to cased, leather-upped. Colors range from pale to dark, the preferred color being pale. The preferred method of handling is open as opposed to cased, leather-upped. The preferred method of handling of the raccoon is opposite to that of the badger, that being cased as opposed to open. Sizing of the raccoon is from the butt to the nose. The sizes are in your fur tariff. Colors range from clear to rusty. Fall squirrels range from blue bellies to slight blue bellies as they come into prime, to prime, which are clear leathered skins. Damages vary from slight damage to damaged to rejects. There are two species of weasels, or ermine, longtails and shorttails, or northerns. The preferred method of handling of weasels is leather out. There are varying degrees of damage in a weasel, and tainting is a very common defect in the weasels, as you can see on this one and also here. Prime weasels are white in color. Unprime are brown.
Black bears. The measurement for black bears is from the base of the tail to the eye holes and across the width. Black bears are mainly used in rugs or in busbies, which is the hats the Queen's Guards use. Any bear that has any commercial value must have at least 2 inches or more of fur throughout its whole body. Bears used for rugs must be complete with claws, have good pouched ears, and lips complete. No damage to the face. Black bear are also harvested in the brown bear phase. Here we have a good example of a heavy bear, but this cannot be used for a rug as the ears were not pouched and they are tainted, as you can see. Polar bears are used mainly for rugs, decorations for various dens, rec rooms, etc. The larger the bear, the more valuable the bear is. Bears are measured from the butt to the nose. We look for heavy fur, as white as possible. The ears must be pouched, the lips intact, and the claws intact also. If the bear is not skinned in this manner, it is of very little value. As again, as I repeat, these bears are only used for rugs. Bears in this color phase, this very off-color yellow tinge, are of very low commercial value. Also, bears that have been shipped with damp paws, they arrive in a moldy state, lowering the value of the skins again. When you're shipping of polars from your stores, make sure they are not in a damp condition. Polar bears of this grade, where you have some fur in the hindquarters moving into the front shoulders, are very little commercial value. As we get into the front shoulders, we're running into mainly hair, no under fur, and right into the shoulder area, we have very sparse coverage. This bear is not good enough for a rug. Would end up being sold for fly tying, for salmon flies, trout flies, etc. That market peaks out at $400 a bear. So bears like this have to be purchased for around 300 or less. I suggest you do not purchase bears of this low quality. Bears with this amount of damage are very little commercial value. This kind of a bear is used mainly for fly tying also. Be very careful when you purchase a bear of this damage. Thanks, Dave. We have here a narwhal tusk that just arrived. When purchasing narwhal tusks, which commands the price here is the straightness of the tusk, the point. The point must be complete. Damaged tusks are at least half value. We look for nice gnarling in the tusk, clean ivory, and again, the point is very, very important. Fox are measured in the same manner as red fox, that is the butt to the nose. With Arctic fox, we look for heavy skins, white, as opposed to off-color or casty colors. Foxes prime in the same manner, that is, they go from the early flat skins to a heavier skin to full prime to spring rubs and woolly rumps. With Arctic fox, one must always watch for the tainted skins. As you can see here, we have a badly tainted skin, and it's hard to detect if you're not aware of what to watch for. Arctic fox with pouched ears and complete feet are of more value. Blue fox are caught occasionally in the Arctic. They are a cousin of the white fox or a color phase of the white fox. They are valued in the same manner.
There are many types of seal in our Canadian waters. However, our Arctic stores are mainly concerned with ringed and harp seal.
Prior to reaching maturity of a harp, the seal are born as whitecoats, mature to beaters, then bedlammers. In seal, we look for clear markings and degree of damage. That is holes, slight staining, to bad staining, to crosshairs.